Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to bring another flower to you in my range of the flexible flower paste, and this one I'm going to do a I forgot what I'm having one of those days today. I'm having a senior moment, so I'm going to do a passion flower for you today. So I'm going to take you down to my board and show you one I've already made. So this is one I've already made up. Now I have got some pictures here I'm just going to show you, because like a lot of other flowers there are lots of different varieties of these flowers, and I've got 3 pictures here. So this is the one that I'm copying, which is the first picture, but then you also get these which have these stamens coming up in the middle there, which I'm not going to do. I could have done that, but I mean I haven't done the centre part because that part was the most difficult part to do. So I've done most of the important parts apart from this central part here, which will be difficult to do in flower paste. So there I've got various different pictures of the different types you can go for. These are only 3 of them. There are lots of different varieties, so I'll leave that up to you. If you do your research online and have a look, and then you can decide what pictures you want to do for that. So the cutters that I'm using, I haven't got a passion flower cutter, so what I'm doing is I'm using the narrower petal off the Cymbidium orchid, and also I'm using another cutter here, which is this small cutter that I took from my no, I'm not going to use that one. Sorry, beg your pardon. I haven't got a passion flower leaf cutter, so I'm using the peony. Hang on, that's the wrong one. Get the right one, wherever it is. There it is. I'm using the peony cutter to do the leaves, which I've already made some up here. I've used the veiner and the cutter to do that. This is. I'm not being botanically correct here. I'm just trying to improvise a little bit to get the leaves as near as I can, because on the actual flowers, if I can find the picture with a better picture with the leaves on, that's probably the nearest one. It's like a hand is the flower, so that was the nearest I could get to doing that. Somebody was asking a question online in one of the groups that I'm in, and they suggested using the peony leaf cutter, and I thought, well, that's a blooming good idea, is that? So that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I've used there for that. I'm not going to make the leaf today. I'm just going to do all the components for the flowers, because there's a lot of components to it. So if you look at the centre of the flower, I'll start off with the top part here, and this is basically like exactly the same as making a bud for honeysuckle. That was it. I have a lot to think about, so my mind keeps going blank here. So I'm using very thin wires for this. I'm using 33 gauge 33 gauge wire. If you haven't got 33 gauge wire, 32 will do. And this is going to do the stamens, this part of the flower, the stamens there, and the top part. So I'll just pop that in there. So what I did with these to get the, because you want short lengths for this, basically I cut them into 6. So into half. Then each of the halves cut into 3. Oops. Get them together. And that one again. So I'm going to use the shorter ones for doing the stamens, which are this part here. I'm not quite sure what they call this part. I should have researched it before I did it, and that's the ovary there. So I'm going to start off with the first one, so we'll get some my it's not actually white, it's slightly off white is this with the flexible paste. Any of you that's made it up will know that it does come out a sort of like an off-white colour, and the best thing to do is, if you want it really white, then you need to add some super white into your paste to make it more white. So I'm going to start off with a tiny piece of paste here. That's probably going to be too big, I might have to take some off of this. And I'm just going to get one wire, that's not quite straight, so I'll just straighten that up. And roll that slightly, so you've got a start of a tube there. And then pop your wire into the end of that. If you don't like doing fiddly things, you probably won't like doing this. Now I've done it so it's part way down the wire. Then get it onto your board and roll. Now you want to get it as thin as you can. Doesn't matter if you do it too big, because you can take some off when you've done it. The matter at this point is to get it as thin as you can. It wants to be almost as thin as the wire. Whoops. Let's get that off the board. Now that's gone slightly past the end of the wire. Now for the stamen part, I want a bit of the wire showing, which will become obvious in a minute. So I'm just going to take that bit off of there. Just take a little bit more off, so that the wire's showing. So I've just got a little bit of the wire showing on there. You probably can't see this. And then I'm just going to measure that. That's a bit too long, so I'm going to take some more off of that. It probably wants to be about 1 inch long, no more. And that's to the end of the wire. So leaving a little bit of the wire showing. Then what we need to do is get a little bit of the small piece of paste that I've just taken off there. Roll that into a ball. You can see how tiny that is. It's about the size of a tiny druggie. Roll that again. And then, if you get your glue brush, and then just get some glue onto the wire bit there, and then that wants to go into the centre of that. Like that. And then just gently with your fingers just bring that down and curve that down slightly. Get it this way up so you can see what I'm doing there. So that's what it wants to look like. Then put that to one side to dry. We'll get rid of that. Get rid of the glue, I don't need that again. As long as your paste is sticky, depending on what kind of paste you're using, I've said this before, if you have problems with things coming off of the wires, then make sure that you put some glue on your wire. If your paste is sticky, like this particular paste is, and the other paste that I use, the egg-free paste, you don't need any glue on your wires because it sticks okay to that anyway. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start off by making the top part above the ovary. So I'm going to start off with a slightly larger piece of paste. Roll that into a ball. Make sure you haven't got any cracks in it, and then I'm just going to roll it on one end, a bit like when you're making a rose cone, so you've got a pointed end. Then get one of your wires, pop that into the pointed end, go up as far as you can, and then roll it, leaving the top part quite thick. Now that's opened up a bit because I had a crack in there. I'll just do that again. It's not that I'm being a perfectionist, but if I'm telling you not to have any cracks in your paste, then I should show you the same, shouldn't I? So into the base of that, like that, and then between your first two fingers roll it down like you would if you were making a honeysuckle bud, and then hold it between your finger and your thumb, bend that back a little bit, and then just brush that over so it goes over. So it's a bit like a snake's head, like that. So you want 3 of those. The other stamens that I've just done, you want 5 of. So we'll get that to one side to dry. And then we get on to the this part of the flower. So again, you want a small piece of paste. That's probably much too big, but again we can roll it down and then take some off when you get to the size that you want it to be. Just start rolling that off like that, and then pop your wire into the bottom of that, bring it up the centre of it and out of the end like that, and then start rolling. This is the same as with the last video that I did for the clematis. So you're making these exactly the same way. So want to be just as thin, almost as thin as your wire. Don't worry about the size of it just yet until we've got it to the thickness that we want. And then they're a bit difficult to get hold of, especially with my big hands. That's a bit thick at the end there. That doesn't come past the end of the wire, so we'll roll that down. So that's as thin as the rest of it. A good way to make sure it's smooth if you roll it that way under your finger like that, so you get it all even. Now that's come off the end of the wire, so we can just take that off there. Then just roll that again at the top to make sure that it's not too narrow. Now I have got some of these made up. Hang on, where are they? Where's my plain one? I've got some that I've coloured here, they'll do. I'm just going to check the size of that. Now that is too long, so I need to take off from there. Oops, just drop that down. So I'm going to take that bottom bit off, like that. And I've squashed it a bit at the bottom, so just roll that again back onto your wire to get that. And then put those to one side to dry. The one good thing about this, if you're using the flexible paste that in the recipe that I gave you in previous videos, you can do all of this straight away. You don't have to wait for anything again. I'm just going to get rid of that bit of paste because I had some purple colour on my fingers and it's gone into the paste. Right, so to make the number that you need for those, what I did was I got 6 of the thinnest wires and I cut all of the wires into 6, so you've got 36 pieces there. Now there aren't as many as there are in the real flower, but if we do that you're going to have a really thick back on the back. I mean, it's quite thick on the back here anyway with that, so that would be going a bit too far. So the next stage I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the petals. I think I need some white fat on my board there, just so it sticks to the board. I'm going to start rolling that out. Bearing in mind you want a ridge up the middle, and as I use my ridge rolling pin, if you're not using that, then do it on the groove side of your board and just do one petal at a time. I'm only going to cut a couple of petals out here just to show how I've made the petals. You need your paste to be fairly thin so that when you roll it out with my groove rolling pin, it gets even thinner. Oops. Yeah, so that's my groove. You probably can't see that on camera, but I can just about see it. I can get away with it being quite thin to get my wires into it, so if you can't, then use the groove side of your groove board. So make sure that the ridge is up the centre of your petal, If you're using the groove board, take it off the board and turn it over and then cut it out. Don't try and cut it out while it's face down. And then we'll cut another petal out there. So I'll just do a couple. Now I'm not going to vein these petals because from what I can remember I did have a passion flower in the garden and unfortunately I lost it. I couldn't see any veining on it as such. It looks fairly plain, so I'm not doing any veining on these. It's the effect that we're looking for these. If you want to be realistic and you can get hold of a passion flower, have a look at it and see if there is any veining, then decide which vein you're going to use to vein your paste. Right, so I need a 26 gauge wire for this. I think I've got one here already cut out. Yes, I have. I'm just going to cut one out. That's a bit thin, is that? I'll just do one of them. So get your wire into the bottom of your petal. Remember, between your finger and your thumb you can feel the wire go up and you can tell if it comes out of the paste. Up as far as you can, so I've got it up to about there. And then onto your ball tool pad. And then with the small end of the medium ball tool, I'm going to thin the edges. I did get a message from somebody about this, said the paste was tearing. If you find that it is tearing, then just leave it for a few minutes just to firm up slightly. Try not to use corn flour if you can, because that dries your paste out even more, even though there's corn flour in it. And then what I'm going to do then is I'm going to turn that over onto the smooth side, and then with the large end of the ball tool from the top, pull it down so it hollows it slightly like that. And then I'm just going to bring that up so that the petal curves round like that. Then put that onto your foam and put those to dry. Right, so once you've got all your components made, then the next part is colouring. So I'm going to start off with the stamens first. And what I've done here is I've got a mixture of greens on here. I've used the tropical lime, which is that green, and then I've mixed into it a bit of spring green, which is that colour. So it's a fairly lightish one, and that gives me a colour in between the two. Sometimes you have to play about with your colours when you're doing things like this. So I'll get the I've got one of the stamens here ready. So this is the T-bar stamen. So get some powder onto my brush, off your brush, and then just give it from the top, just give it a flick down with the colour, turn it over. And what I've done is I've curved the petal down a little, if this part down a bit. If you put it, see what I've done there, I've put a little bit of a curve on it. Right, so the next step with that, before I finish with that, let's just put those colours away. I'm going to put a bit of pollen right on the very top of here. Not the all over it, just on the top. So if you get your pollen, anybody that hasn't watched my videos before, the pollen, all it is ground rice or semolina mixed with some powder colour of whichever pollen it is you're wanting to do. Put it in a little tub like that and give it a good shake, and you've got your pollen. Don't go into a shop and pay £2 odd for it. You can get a big bag of ground rice or whatever for a lot less than that. I don't believe in wasting money or spending money where you shouldn't have it. The manufacturer's not going to be very happy with me, but who cares? I know. Just put some glue just right on the very top there. Then that goes into your pollen. Just on the top there. I've got a bit too much on there. Let's just brush some of that off. Right, so that's those done. Now then, before I do any colouring on the centre part of it, I've got another step to do to that, and the reason why I've left that is because I want to put that on while the paste is soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get I should have a 20 gauge wire here somewhere, if I can find what I've done with it. No, can't find it. Get another one. Right, just bear with me a second. It'll probably turn up when I'm not looking for it. It usually does when I can't find things. So what I've done is the same as you do when you're doing your roses. This is going to be the main wire that everything is going to be attached to. So I've cut that into 3. Just put those to one side. And then start off the top with some Nile Green half-width tape. So we're just going to find out which is the sticky side, and by doing that what you need to do is just stretch your wire on the end and press it between your fingers to find out which side sticks. And because my fingers are quite greasy, it's not sticking to them. That side. Right, so bring that over onto your wire, nip it in with your nail, and then just go around a couple of times just to make sure that's not sticking. It's because I've got some grease on my fingers from the paste, because it can be quite greasy because it's got fat in it, and also the grease that I've rubbed on my board as well, which doesn't help. So I'll just bring that over like that, nip that in like that, and then roll between your finger and thumb. There we are, got it. Make sure it's right at the very top of your wire, and then I'm going to get the 3 centres that I've made here. These are the ones that look like honeysuckle buds, and I want them to face outwards, so just get that twisted in. That's it, that's the first one. Second one. And the third one. These are probably still quite soft because I only made them this afternoon, so once you get them in and tape down, then you can arrange them how you want them to be. So I'm going to tape down with that. I make sure I go past the bottom of the wires that I've just put in, so that they don't unravel when I put the next part in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend these out and make sure that I'll call them snake heads, are pointing outwards like that. That one's turning round, that one. That's what we're aiming for. Now the next thing to do is I want another piece of paste, and I'm going to roll that. This wants to be about the size of a small pea. Make sure we're getting rid of any cracks in it. It's going a bit discoloured because I've picked some green powder up on my hands there, and I'm going to put some glue just around the base of here like that. Pop that into the centre of that and bring that up. That comes right up to there like that, and I'm just going to roll round like that, just to make sure that that is securely fastened in. Just readjust those like that. There we are. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to colour this before I do anything. So in the one that I've copied, the one that I've done, the ovary and the top part is purple. Now what I've done here for the purple is I've mixed purple and some burgundy together because I wanted to make it a darker purple than I already had, because it is quite dark as this centre. So then you can start dusting this with this mixture. Just be careful because this is still soft. I mean, at this point you could leave this until it's dry when you're doing yours. I'm just doing this because of the demonstration, because I needed to put this together before I could put that on. And then dust the other parts of the top part here with the same colour. I'm just making sure I'm in camera shot. I'll just bring that up a little bit more this way so you can see what I'm doing. I just want to make sure I'm in shot because I keep getting told off for going out of shot, and I apologise because it's very difficult for me to look down here when the camera's up there and the screen's up there. So I don't have a camera person, I'm the camera person. So for anybody that has complained, I apologise, but I do try to remember that I need to keep everything in shot. Right, so that's that part done. I haven't done it quite as dark, but I mean I could always go back in when I finish the flower and give it another go when it's totally dry. Right, so back to the tape again, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stamens in, which are the ones with a little, like a T-bar head. So start your tape off again underneath the ovary there. Then we'll get these stamens out. And what we need to do now is to bend these down. Now it's got a bit of a curve on, so it wants to curve down a little bit where your curve is, but I mean the advantage is if you're using this flexible paste you can still bend it, because with the paste being flexible you're still able to adjust that. And the advantage is as well, if you've let the paste dry as well, it's not going to squash it like it did when it was still soft if you're adjusting them whilst it's still soft. So what I need to do now is get that and bend that wire down like that, so I can tape that in directly underneath the ovary. That one I've already bent down so that can go in. You might have to adjust them once you get them in, but it's a matter of getting them in at this particular point in time. Oh, I haven't put any pollen on them. Missed one. Just bear with me a second while I just do that. And there's me thinking I've done everything, and I haven't. There we are, that's alright. Where's the other one? I don't know whether I'll be able to do that, but we'll have a go. Yeah. See, even people that have been doing it a long time forget things. I'm blaming my age, because when you get to my age at 76, you do start forgetting things. Whoops, I've just let my age out, haven't I? Oh well, never mind. And the advantage of being older as well is you have a lot more experience in most things as well. You can adjust where you want your stamens to sit once you've got them all taped in. And again, tape down. To the end of your wires. There we are, that's that. So now I can adjust my stamens where I want them to be. So there we are, that's the stamens wired in. So I'll just pop that to one side, so we'll get back to the colouring again. I'm just going to get rid of that and pop that paper over to one side. Just move my rolling pins out of the way. Now I've got a brush here that I've used for purple. I'm just going to clean this off a little bit, which is the right paper, but that's the one with colour on it. And bring that over. I've already coloured some there, so I've left one of them to colour here. Now there's two colours on this. I'm just going to try and get as much colour as I can off my brush before I do this, because I'm using two colours here. I'm using Empress Purple, sorry, the purple that I've used for the centre there, which is the Empress Purple mixed with some burgundy, and then the other one that I'm using here is called Iris from Edible Art. All the colours I'm using are all from Edible Art. So that's this lilac-y colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the top end of this with that's gone a little bit dark as that, because I've still got some purple on my brush. Right, so once I've done that, then I'm using the purple mix that I've got here and do the bottom part of it, leaving the piece in the centre white or lighter colour, like that. So you've got two different colours there. So if you look at the actual flower when it's all together, you can see you get that sort of darker centre and the lighter edge with the no colour middle part of it. So when you get all your pieces together like these here, you can see now, if I put that against the white there, you've got your lilac on the end there and then your purple down here at the bottom. Now I'm not going to make you sit and watch me put all these in. I'm just going to put a few in, and then I'll switch the camera off and I'll come back when I've got them all in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them, now I'm just going to bend the wires down on these. We'll just get all those together and then just bend the wires down like that. There we are. So those are ready to go in. So I'm going to get my tape again. That's the right side. I'm going to start slightly lower down here. So I'm starting probably about half an inch below the stamens. And you can start putting these, I'm going to call them spindles. I don't know what they're called, so I'm winging it here. You can always look that up online if you want to find out what the parts are. I know on Pinterest sometimes you find where there's sketches of flowers dissected, and it tells you on there what parts they are. I do know what the parts are on some flowers, but on this particular one, I apologise, I didn't check on that one to find out what they called it. I'll just put 2 or 3 of these in and then I'll switch the camera off and I'll come back when I get to the last few. Bring them down so they come out straight like that, and then you just go around and put them all in. So I'll come back in a few minutes. I'm getting on to the last few now. I've just got 3 or 4 to put in. So I'm just pulling these that I've already got in down so I can see where they're going to sit, and so I can see where I've got any gaps then. Don't matter if they're not all exactly the same length as well, because flowers do tend to vary. Oops. Let's get that round the other side of that. That's it. Down there. Just be careful of your stamens that you don't pull those down. You can always put a little bit of a twist on the end. Some of them are very curly on the end, depending on which variety you got. I didn't print any pictures off of those, but some of them are very curly on the edge. Let's put these last few in. We've got the odd gap, there's a gap in there. Whoops. Let go of that. That down. When you're doing anything like this, if you look from the top like that, you can see where they are, and if anything's sort of swung round out of place, you can get one in there. Just in case you're wondering, I haven't forgotten about colouring the other petals either. I just wanted to put this together before I get onto that, before I put those in. I think we're almost there. I think we've got enough in. Right, so I'm just going to tape down with that. Keep your tape really tight. That's what keeps everything in place, and it stops them from swinging round. One of the problems that some of my students at college had when I was teaching there. Not getting the tape tight enough. There we are, that's okay. Right, and just pop that to one side now. Sorry about that, that's my dog. I've just got him and he's obviously heard something somewhere. Right, so we'll get onto the petals. Let's get rid of that out of the way, so we finish with that. And we finish with that. Get rid of those. And that brush. So I want this brush here. Now I couldn't find a cream to do these, so I'm using Golden Pearl on this, but you can use whatever colour you want. I mean, some of them are lilac colours as well. If you want a lilac one, you can do. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that on there. So I've got a plain one here that I've left. Brush that all over with whichever colour you're going to use, and then on the back, same as you do with leaves, don't go as heavy on the back and put any more paste powder on. And then I've still got some green on my brush here. The green that I've used for the stamens, I'm just going to catch just the very edge of the petals here and there, so they've just got a hint of the green right on the very edge, like that. That's all I'm going to do with that. Get that out of the way. Then we can go back to the flower. Oops. Get some more tape. We'll start off with a fresh piece here. Stretch that, so that's the sticky side. And then again, start this directly underneath these spindles here that you've just put in. And get your petals. Now there's 10 of these petals, if I didn't tell you before. So we've got approximately, if you think from the top, 3 for the top, 5 for the stamens, 36 for the spindles, and then 10 of your petals. So I'll get that one in first. That one attached, and just pull that down a little bit. There. When you're making these spindles, by the way, check them in your cutter. You want them to go probably about that far up, leaving a space at the end. They don't want to be the same length as your cutters. They do come a little bit shorter. And it depends on the variety as well. The varieties are different. So if you have a look for pictures of them and study the pictures, it's not generally the sort of flower you get as a cut flower. Or go to your garden centre when it's too early at this time of year. But I mean, when it gets later on and they've got all this type of thing in flower, go and have a look there. Take photographs. That's another way of studying it if you haven't got the flower or whatever. Doesn't matter how you put your petals in, they'll just fall into place. Once we've got all the petals in, you can check where they're going to sit, and just keep pulling your wires down to make sure that you've got your petals down to the tape. That's it. That just wants to come down a bit there. You can adjust all this once you get them all in. Just try not to get your tape that you've stretched sticking to itself, because it just makes it, you just have to keep opening it up to make sure that you've got it nice and flat like that. And I've got that twisted. Have I? No, I haven't. I did get a little fold in it there. don't forget, everybody, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribing. And if you've got any questions about anything or any comments you'd like to make, leave them down below. And I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I don't always get back straight away, but I will get back as soon as I can. I try to reply to everybody. I know some people on some of the content makers don't always get back to everybody. I know myself, because I've left messages for people asking questions and they haven't got back. So I know, probably from about 2 years ago, still waiting for a reply back from somebody. And I always think that if people are going to take the trouble of subscribing to your channel and watching your videos, then, and they ask a question, you should reply to them. But that's me. That's the way I was brought up. Where we're going to put that? There. Once you've got all your petals in, you can adjust where they are when you've got it all put together. Quite a few cutters you could use. Some of them have quite a rounded end, so if you want the more rounded end on your flowers, by the way, just turn your cutter up the other way and use that end as your top instead of the pointed end. It doesn't make any difference. It's your flower. You do it whichever way you want it to be. Because as I say, there's lots of different varieties, so that's all taped down. So we'll just adjust the petals and change them around a bit. So there we are. That's my version of a passion flower. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and you'll come back to see me in the next one. We'll get the other one out, so we'll have them both there. Just get my block out here. Move those out of the way. Pop those into there. And as I say, if you've got any questions that you have about what I've done in the video, or anything that you'd like to see me do, if you've got any ideas of anything that you're struggling with or whatever, I mean, some of them I might have already got them because there's over 100 videos anyway on my channel, so there might be something there. But I am repeating some of the flowers in the flexible paste as well, because it's a different medium to work with. So there we are. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed the video. Take care, stay safe.